Pretty good. How you doing?
That as always.
Yeah.
Why? Got my wife in your car and you're driving her over?
That's the plan. She's is that part where she's at on the shield? Does the shield come down that far in New York?
Yeah. That's the other side. About 4 to 5 miles distance from St. Lawrence, end of it. She's on the shield with the nuns and the priests, everybody that's set up there because that's the safest. Right at the tip. And the seaway, of course, will rise. It's part of the shield. That means water will not be able to flow from the Great Lakes. Break will be at the end of Lake Ontario. Water will have to flow south. Watertown, round field, place called Canton, back to the St. Lawrence, Cena, Cornwall, so Montreal will probably go through all kinds of experiences. No water for a while, and water coming back door kind of area around Lake Champlain.
So where she's at, is she's still at the safe spot?
Yeah.
So got to be a little bit further on the shield, huh? That'd be
Easily.
more like.
Yep.
That's more like where the coastline will be, kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
we're about 40 miles from the tip. He's about 4 miles.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you look at a map that shows elevation stuff, see that whole area, south shore of Lake Ontario, around tip, it's all floodplain. Take much water to. A lot of the religious orders were in all. Couldn't fit. Big boys would. Dave Hall moved to Ottawa.
I don't know if this is your. I'm getting an interference. I don't know if it's my phone or your phone, but if you speak for a while, it's fine. But when you're starting out, cutting off the first syllable, you say. Maybe.
Could be yours because the same thing happens.
Oh, you're hearing it the same. All right. I guess I'm going to try calling you from my house really quick.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Hello.
Hey.
Can't hear you.
Too low?
Too low.
Really, really, really low?
Try again.
All right.
It's still too low. Hang on. Now try again.
Coming in.
I can hear you better on the open line there, whatever you call it.
The corded phone? Or?
It's the same phone, but it has a button where you don't need to listen into it.
Oh, like a speakerphone?
Speaker, yeah. So I'm hearing you now on the speaker.
Okay.
But it's low.
I'll try to speak with a little more volume. Is that a little better?
Yep.
All right.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. So. I figure it's a brand new phone, too, and whenever I call you, it's always, the volume is very low, so I try to call you from my cell phone, but when I call from the cell phone, I have to use an application called Google Voice, and you know those guys, so
yeah.
then it was just chopping every word you say. So I was like, it's really annoying. Like, I can't.
Time Warner is doing the same thing to Jenny.
Time to Warner, huh?
He disappeared again.
Okay. Oh, I found out a little more information about the Close Encounters scene.
Yep.
That it was actually a different. When I found out, I did a little research. Someone else said it was different 5 notes that were being played. Ended up being a D, E, C, C, G, or D, D, E, C like December, C and G. So
that would make more sense. Deck, Decca. They're gone again.
Oh, I'm here. It said it came from a German scientist who had a theory that all music stems from these notes or variations of these notes. So that basically turned into the that.
Well, he could have been a German plumber because as long as he's German and they tell him what it is, then he knows it.
Right.
He doesn't have to be a scientist.
Just connected, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they always throw that in there. John Williams, too, so a very unique name. You know?
Yeah. I am the toilet.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And that's what you hear, that do, re, mi, fa, so. That's that guy. John Williams, he chose that after trying 350 of the approximate 130,000 possibilities of those 5 notes combined in a 12-tone chromatic scale. And the hand sign that you see him doing in the movie, that's actually from Kerwin, and that's basically how they signal to a singer to go up a scale. It's the same do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, that whole thing. But they do it in like a sign language. So that's what that guy was doing. He was, in the movie, he was doing it in that sign language, plus they were playing it. So the piano guy knew what to play. So that's actually been used for 1,000 years, they said, that the whole hand sign thing. So.
Don't know why 1,000 years, except that would link it to about the Crusades. Of course, the Crusades is the ruse age.
Yeah. So I thought you might want to know that.
Yeah. Well, it's all kind of connected to, in the first instance, gravity was not gravity but sound. And it's a matter of working out the combination lock. Not being a musician, it basically doesn't allow me to search it in detail. You're better off than I am for that. But in the context of what we're talking about, there would have to have been a bursting of the seed,
right,
that became the Big Bang. Sound is not an inappropriate vehicle for doing that. So maybe on the right path, but the guy said the combination possibilities are enormous.
Right.
And to me, there's a concept called teleportation, which I don't believe for a minute occurs among normal people. But linked to the musical notes, for those who are in a parallel universe, whatever you want to call it, dark matter, sixth dimension, there would have to be a teleportation-like activity that would allow them, like in Star Wars where it says, "Beam me up, Scotty."
Yeah.
A way of breaking things down to their lowest common denominator and moving them at the speed of light or something to the through the gateway that requires the combination, the fifth dimension, into the sixth dimension where they are part of creation. The ones most likely to be able to do that would have some kind of silent genetic instruction, recessive gene-like, that they brought in with them, and that didn't get transferred from clan mother to Cro-Magnon, but could be added if there was a bad quality control at the beginning. That's what I'm told happened to me, is that there was a leftover from the clan mothers when they used the genome to manufacture Cro-Magnon. There was one egg that wasn't cleaned out properly, and that's why I was able to break the code internally, because I have some kind of recessive gene or something.
Yeah, that would make sense. You know, why certain things, even like with music, for instance, like I never took like music theory or anything like that, which a lot of people I know that are in music business or play instruments they take. So they study the different sequences of notes and the names of everything and all of that. So I was more of an intuitive player.
Yeah.
Just kind of knew how to play and played by ear.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm good at, it's more like I guess like a language that I'm used to hearing. You know, it's kind of like knowing a language, being able to speak it fluently, but maybe you can't write it down, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of like that, but so even with that, I've been listening to that Gregorian chant as well.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those songs are the same.
Yeah. They're certainly sending out messages to the people who are in the audience and who understand that languaging. The one I have is from Mount Angel, the Benedictines in Oregon, and I have, I think there's 45 different pieces. You sit there and you keep saying, I heard this before, I heard it. It's in more than one of these type of things, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Which one? I don't know which one I have. I downloaded, it was called the top or the best of Gregorian chant, something like that.
Yeah. There's supposed to be a new one that's been contracted out by the people who manage Lady Gaga. They're nuns. They are nuns, and they live in a cloistered monastery, and the contract had to be handed over through the slot in the front door, and they looked it over and made some changes, handed it back, then it got changed and put back in, and then they signed it, and they are supposedly going to do the magnum opus of Gregorian chant and be sold to the public sometime next year, I think.
Oh, really? The ones that I have the monks of Silo. Silo? S-I-L-O-S.
Lost. Well, it has I-L in there, and I-L is very important. S can be transferred to a T, and it comes back down to a bed. D-E is important because it's part of the word bed. In French, the word is lit, L-I-T. So, Li, a lot of Chinese names, you have that.
Right, yeah. Chinese and Koreans.
Yeah. When it gets transferred to English, it becomes bed, where the Latter-day Saints do their thing, and the nuns who make babies call them foundlings. It all appears as if there is one purpose. It was the way the Neanderthalers were pissed off at African clan mothers. They set out to destroy Africans. Part of the destruction is hidden in slavery. The intent is not really to bring slaves. The intent is knowing what happens when you have slaves. The master or the master's sons end up screwing the women, and the blacks over time disappear. If you stop slavery after 100 years or so, all of these people start to move north and intermingle with whites. So the white and the black are what is needed to break the slave color of black and turn it to mulatto, which is a mixture of white and black. And that seems what the whole process is all about, and why Madonna goes to Africa to get a baby, and a whole bunch of other people follow suit. And it's basically to remove the blacks. If you know Edgar Allan Poe's poem, The Raven,
right,
there's a place where the bird is sitting on top of the doorway and it says, "Never, nevermore, Lenore." Well, black in French is noir, N-O-I-R. Never, nevermore, Lenoir. Never, nevermore, Lenore is the same basic structure. If you look at the crucifix of Jesus, the word over the top is Inri. So,
right.
So if you take the second letter N, you put it in front, then you have an I that can become an O. You move the outside I to the third spot, and you have the word noir, black. So your ancestors are the target. My ancestors are the vehicle. And the two of them mixed together will make mulatto. The definition in English of mulatto is gray, and that's why a whole bunch of people within ecclesiastics have a group of people who dress in gray, or use the word in the name, the gray nuns, the gray fathers, and they seem to be the wealthiest of all. The Trappist monks play a role in creating the trap, which is usually alcohol, cheese, wine and cheese. The Sulpicians are one of the great players. The Benedictines, of course. Then there's the gang set up by St. Bernard and the Knights Templars, and the background that they come from in the Alps. So
that's interesting. Yeah, my ancestors are on my father's side is Russian and German mainly.
Yeah.
And then my mother's side is part Cherokee and Blackfoot, and then Black African American.
Yeah. Cherokee and Cheyenne are supposed to be involved. Cherokee, of course, gives you the word key in there. So.
Yep. So yeah, I am.
I suspect everybody's involved in one way or another by now.
Yeah. And you could see just by looking around that it's the way everything is right now. Everything looks temporary, like it's just waiting to collapse.
Yeah.
Everything. It's like this.
Yeah. I'm waiting for a flood here. I've been told by the cell that I should build a raft. I've begun the work. The raft has to be large enough that it can hold about 13 goats, that there should be a couple of tubs on the raft to put chickens in. There should be a tub for cats. And we should not expect here that the water will last or that it will come as a tidal wave because we're too high and too far from the problem, but we should expect some kind of thing that will put out power,
right?
Will flood at least basements, be at least 3 or 4 days off the ground.
So is the raft so the animals stay above water, don't drown?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It has to be designed in such a way as they can be off the raft before the water comes, but as the water comes, you move them up on the raft. So I'm working on that on the front lawn next to the display, so that I've become Noah's raft.
Right. They really have Noah's neighbors now.
Glen's raft instead of Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
So it's something that I do while I'm alone, and I've got the framework all assembled, and I have to wait for winter for the sap to be out of the trees to start putting the logs up on top of the frame and the buoyant parts that I've attached at the corners.
You can get some of that foam to put in there. Like sometimes you can fill a barrel up with foam or something like that. That helps out a lot.
Yeah.
But I was talking to. I briefly sent a message back and forth to Tommy. He said he moved out and he's in Ottawa now.
Yeah.
That's
the last I heard. Well, as far as I know he was supposed to be leaving on a certain day, and I came down from upstairs, and it appeared as if they had gone. I looked around, saw there was one suitcase on the bed, but I figured, well, maybe they couldn't carry everything, and they've left. And I was called to a meeting with the cell, so I had to go. But from what I understand from Tom here, they had simply gone to town because one of their suitcases broke. When they came back, I wasn't here, so they couldn't figure out where I was. I thought they had already left, so I didn't see them when they departed, but apparently Tom dropped them off in Ottawa. So
was on good terms and everything, or just
as far as I know, there's always personality things that come up over time between old people and young people, but that's normal.
Yeah. Because he kind of left it very vague, like it was a secret, kind of like, I can't talk right now, I hope you understand, but everything's okay. Like, I was like, why is it such a 007 mission? I don't know, it just sounded like, maybe it just, but it's hard to read that off of the internet, like you don't know
well,
what
you have to remember that they have to leave the country. They want to give as little information about that as possible. Have to leave it because their thing is expiring. I'm allotted as visitors.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I know. Like, I'm just saying, I know like how it works over there, really vague. I didn't know, like, if something happened, because I was like, in order to move, at least in the States anyway, if you want to get an apartment, you have to kind of be a resident here, You show them stuff and fill out forms, and they do background checks and check your credit. So I was just wondering how he was able to get an apartment.
Well, he has relatives in Ottawa.
Oh, okay. All right.
So who knows? And I specifically had asked him not to tell me, as I tell people, don't tell me when you're coming. Don't tell me when you're leaving, because we're not alone.
Right.
On the telephone or anywhere else for that matter. So I just took it, well, he chose today, and we got a little confused about the time of departure. They're probably the best team that you could assemble as young people. Tommy's an excellent worker. Ambika's a little more quiet, nunnish-like. When you're dealing with young people, and the reason why they say life begins at 40 is that there is still a lack of experience that young people have, which leads to what old people call immaturity.
Yeah.
And they can do things thinking more about their own needs rather than repercussions on someone else. That kind of thing for people of my age. We were there, so we did it.
Yeah.
Now other people are doing it, and it has an impact on us.
Yeah, and also, they're in their 20s. They're a couple living in house with you guys. They need their own space and stuff to be a couple and all that type of thing.
it's not unheard of, and it's not unexpected.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing that a few months and then go home.
Yeah, and I can totally understand that.
But Tom is an he works like a machine. I don't know if it's all genetics or what, but he could split logs, do work in the bush. I never saw him sweat. He had more oxygen flowing through his body in 1 minute than I have in an hour, I think. So, and I'm not a slouch when it comes to that stuff. So
I notice one of my skills that are basically coming together is, for instance, Jared and I, we go out together to places, and conversation might strike up where we have an opportunity to show some reality to some people, talk about reality. And we kind of do this tag team explanation. Very good at, he's like, for certain people, I can just almost sense when they're losing it, like they're not catching on anymore. So that's when I can come in and just offer a way for them to get right back on to like the conversation with, very examples related to maybe what that person might have seen throughout their life, based on their age or stuff
that's
like that.
That's basically
race,
what
where
Jenny
they're
and
born.
I have common, is that she can do that, complete my thought, pass it back to me, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's going to be a need for that. This year was probably as good a practice year as possible. In life, the first time you try something, you don't usually do it as well as it can be done the second or third time around.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that this is all a process that is evolving on behalf of creation itself being a process. We'll get around to getting it right sooner or later, and I suspect we don't have that much time. So
yeah,
next season might be a different.
Right.
We need the resources, human resources, financial resources, goods and services. We haven't been able to put that package together properly yet. I suspect that part of it is because creation has a timing factor it's dealing with, and it's no sense being at the front door when it's locked.
Right.
First at the red light, so this is more getting into the swing of things and kind of folding in with the proper timing creation has in mind.
Right.
There is a possibility that something may happen by the 24th this month. It was supposed to happen by the 24th last month, with this month being the backup. There was some activity by Grey Nuns that I suspect allowed the thing to be set back a month to check out, find out whether or not they were honest. They are willing willingness to dialogue. I suspect that they have not been. Therefore, things are back on track, and I wouldn't be surprised to see something happen by the 24th this month. But the big
Why 24?
The big stuff is basically for next year.
Why do you say 24?
The month of May should have an event, and that's where you get mayhem from. Then the bigger event in November.
Right. Why do you think October 24th?
Well, the 24th is the number for the sixth dimension. And September and October, leading up to Halloween, which is their celebration, their harvesting. I suspect Creator has a plan for something to happen. The exact thing I don't know. I know, the bigger thing is linked to the toilet flushing as kind of an instantaneous death for hundreds of thousands of people. But as it flows over Elliot Lake, which is just north of Gore Bay at the base of Sault Ste. Marie, Canada's nuclear establishment was set up there in the 50s and 60s, basically closed down. But as the water flows over that, radon will rise, and the effects of radon. It's gas that comes off nuclear stuff, and it basically is linked to hadron, NORAD, Leonardo, and radon is what kills you over time. It causes cancer.
Right.
Now, if Creator wanted to kill millions of people, it's almost impossible to do that with water alone. So you got to have the follow-up. Creation, on the other hand, is not as much interested in destroying numbers of people, but more in cherry-picking people who have caused the problem. Therefore, cancer is more appropriate, the will of creation. Instant drowning is more appropriate to Creator. Be interesting to see the effects that happen with the flushing of the toilet. Now, you've got a number of possibilities as well with these big ice flows that have come off Greenland.
Right, yep.
And they could block the St. Lawrence Seaway and cause a backup of the water coming through and then splash back. And that's why Creedence Clearwater says, looking out my back door. It's a hint that while you're watching in one direction, it hits you from the rear. So all of those things are possible. The Titanic is in place. They've sent a group to investigate recently, I understand, to videotape in 3D all of the sites so they can study it and try to find the detector, the device that would ignite whatever's in the rear end piece of titanium.
Yeah. I was also reading there's a whole bunch of sunken ships in the Great Lakes as well.
Yeah. anyways, it basically is telling us that oil refinery will not be easy following that, so you can expect transportation problems, you can expect energy problems, places that are driven by coal or oil or whatever just won't function anymore.
Yeah.
So I was warned by the cell to make sure that I had at least a half a tank of heating oil to get to the end of this year, December, and then start heating with wood for the colder parts of the winter.
Right. Save as much as you can.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, does the cell ever talk to you about maybe preparations that they're taking, or they only just, it's like a one-way kind of street with them?
I don't think that they are affected in the same way we are. I think they have escape route when necessary.
Now, their role is strictly like they gather. It almost seems like they just gather intelligence for you.
They gather
Debrief
intelligence in preparation for trials. All of those people, whether alive or dead when it happens, must have a trial to determine whether or not there's any reason to allow these people to be born again as human beings. And those that have caused the problem, right? They'll have their DNA recombined.
Yeah.
Where they never will be human beings for the conceivable future, and probably not for the remainder of this universe. There's no sense in trying to repair a problem that has been in existence for 40-some thousand years by having the same people present.
Right.
And they always have that opportunity of making amends of some kind before they die, and then have that considered as a mitigating circumstance when the decision will be made.
But that's only partial, right? Because if their DNA throughout their whole life has been not one with benefiting creation, creation still has that say at the end of the day.
Well, it's creation that makes the judgment.
Right. You're updating your DNA basically every, it's like in real time in a sense, right? Or every night. So those people just at the end, if they want to say, "Oh, I'm going to be good now," that's not helping too much.
People will know what these people did because creation will know. And it includes those people who say, well, I couldn't do it before because, well, there's one place they can't lie and get away with it.
Right.
And that's that basic situation. They say, I didn't have the money or whatever. Creation will basically run them through. Did I not provide you with? Did I not provide you with this? Did I not provide you with that? Did you not have it hidden in some LLC someplace to escape taxation rather than use it to do the things I was expecting from you? So they won't be able to lie. Then they're done that, seen it happen, some other stage of existence. anybody who doesn't grasp the concept that a seed contains everything that makes the plant, an oak tree fits in an acorn,
right,
and that during its lifetime it makes more acorns and passes on its knowledge that way. People who think you live, you die, that's it, just have no brains at all. There's nothing in the world that lives and dies, that's it.
Exactly.
So why would it be any different for us? Everything has the same process. Are animated from a singularity. Live, you make children, and then you shut down. When you shut down, the remaining energy, one of two things happens. It's allegorized in the Bible. Mary and a whole bunch of people are basically referred to as having had an assumption. Assumption basically means it's linked to like a sump pump. It's picked up off the ground, out of the ground, and recycled into the ground.
Right.
That's an assumption. But Jesus had an ascension.
Right.
An ascension suggests that you're not going down, you're going up. And to go up in this world, your energy is going back in time to the point at which things began, through a stargate to the point where the person or process or whatever on the other side was animating the singularity to the person or process who in fact made the recipe for creation. And product is the Big Bang. So it's a choice you get. Do you want to be part of this universe, and most likely will not survive because it's past its point of transition, and unless something happens, like we succeed, it's going to be shut down? Or do you want to remember with creation and be outside of this universe and take the lessons learned and move on to a parallel space and do it over again? In any event, it's time for me to get a hold of Jenny, so I got to leave you.
All right.
Talk to you again sometime soon.
Yes. Okay. Tell her I said hello.